The air inside the dark cell was cold and thick. A steady drip-drip echoed from somewhere in the shadows. Blood, water. He couldn't tell any more. Jakarta human. Soldier, survivor lay motionless on the hard metal floor, his arms chained. Above his head, his legs were twisted, one clearly broken. His face was swollen, beaten beyond recognition. Days had passed, maybe more. He couldn't keep track. The only thing he knew for sure. He was dying. The alien guards had stopped asking questions 2 days ago. Now, they just came to watch him bleed. Their laughs were sharp like blades. Fragile species, they'd sneer, spitting near his face. How did they ever make it off their dirt world? Jace didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat was too dry. His lips too cracked. Every breath came with pain. And then, the door creaked open. A thin line of golden light stretched into the cell. For a moment, he squinted. His swollen eye barely opened, but he could make out a tall figure in robes. She didn't walk like the guards. Her steps were slow, silent, almost floating. He tried to lift his head, couldn't. The figure moved closer. Her robe shimmered like stars trapped in water. A hood covered her face, but glowing eyes shone beneath. Not cruel, not curious. Just calm. Jac felt something strange stir inside him. Fear. Ow. Something deeper. The guards had spoken about her. Whispers, like old ghost stories told in hushed tones. The prophetess, she sees the future. She speaks no words, only death follows her. He thought she was just a myth. Some cursed priestess they feared but worshipped. Yet here she was. In his cell, she stopped just inches from him. Her glowing eyes studied his broken body. Her hands were hidden beneath the robe, and for a long moment, she said nothing. Silence. Then, she knelt. No one had done that to him since. He was captured, not even looked at him like a being. She did not mock. She did not ask questions. She only stared. JCU opened his mouth. A croak escaped. Nothing more. His vision blurred again. He was slipping. But then, she spoke one word. One single word, soft, gentle, like wind brushing over fire. Rise. His heart stopped, not from fear, from something else. The sound wasn't just heard. 'Twas felt through his skin, his bones, his blood. Something ignited inside him. A spark. Jace's fingers twitched. His arm jerked slightly. A tingling filled his limbs. No. It wasn't pain anymore. It was life. His breath deepened. His chest, once weak and still, rose and fell with strength. Warmth spread through him like sunlight through frost. The tightness in his chest loosened. His broken leg burned, then cooled. The prophetess didn't move. She stood again, still silent, her face hidden in the shadow of her hood. But her eyes never left him. He looked up. His head lifted just barely, but it did. WH. He tried. WH. Who? Oh. But before the words came, she turned. The chains above his wrists trembled. Metal groaned, snapped, the links shattered. He collapsed to the ground, gasping. Others' ankle cuffs broke. His hand pressed to the floor. He pushed himself up. The prophetess was already at the door. She looked over her shoulder one last time. Glowing eyes. That was all he could see. Then she vanished. The door closed behind her, and he was alone again, but no longer helpless. His body still. Weak now, hummed with something unfamiliar. Strength, energy, rage, hope. Jace stood slowly, legs shaking. The chains that once held him now lay in broken pieces around him and in the air. Her words still echoed. Rise. Asterisk. The metal floor was cold beneath his bare feet. Every step sent a jolt through his legs. They'd been broken. But now he was walking. He didn't understand how Jace Carter had spent the last week at death's door. No food, no water, beaten every day. Bones cracked, muscles torn. And yet now, he moved through the shadowed corridor of the alien war prison like a ghost. His body was no longer failing him. Something had changed. He could feel it under his skin like static. His blood felt heavier, hotter. His heart beat slow, strong, steady. But it wasn't just the prophetess's word that haunted him. It was the way the chains snapped, not pulled apart, disintegrated. Like they knew they couldn't hold him anymore. What had she done? Who even? Was she? He paused at the first junction in the hall. The sound of boots echoed from down the corridor. Alien guards, voices rough and casual. They hadn't heard the alarm yet. Jace pressed himself against the wall. He didn't have a weapon. He didn't even have shoes. Torn rags, blood-stained skin, and whatever strange force now pulsed inside. The guards turned the corner. Two of them, big, gray-skinned armor. CLINKING. JAC is single quotes as first thought was to hide. Run. He was no match. Not in this shape, but his legs didn't move backward. They stepped forward. Why? Why wasn't he afraid? The first alien saw him and shouted, raising a stun blade. The second followed, snarling with sharp teeth. Prisoner, down. But Jace didn't drop. Instead, he lunged. Faster than he ever thought he could move. His fist slammed into the first alien's chest. Crack. The alien flew back, smashing into the wall with a howl, armor dented. The stun blade clattered to the floor. JAC blinked. What just happened? The second alien came in swinging. Fast, but Jace ducked under the strike, grabbed the alien by the arm, and twisted hard. Snap, another scream. Then silence. Both guards were down. Jace stood over them, chest heaving. He looked at his hands. They weren't glowing. They weren't different. But they didn't feel human anymore. He grabbed the fallen stun blade. Lightweight, sharp. The edge buzzed with a blue hum. He stepped over the guards and into the next hallway, moving quickly now. The alarms would come soon. The war prison was carved into the side of a cliff deep inside the alien stronghold. Above it, thousands of soldiers trained for war. Jace had seen them from the air during the invasion. This place wasn't just a prison, it was a lab. It's a secret one. He remembered pieces. Before he was captured, his team had been tasked with raiding an enemy base. But something went wrong. A trap. Everyone else dead, and him. He wasn't sure if they kept him alive out of curiosity or cruelty. Now he needed a way out. He reached a locked door. Glowing blue symbols shimmered across it. Jace touched the panel beside it. It should have been impossible to open without alien DNA. But as his hand brushed the glass, the door slid open. He stared at it. What the hell? His DNA had changed. Or maybe the prophetess had done more than just speak. The hallway beyond was darker. Quieter. He moved silently. No more footsteps. No more noise. Then he felt a presence. Behind him, he turned fast, raising the blade. But there was no one. Only a soft voice. In his mind, keep going, child of flame. The prophetess. How was she speaking to him? He shook his head. Focus. He passed strange doors, labs, rooms filled with blinking lights, floating tanks, alien weapons, experiments. Then he found something. A mirror. He stepped toward it, almost afraid. What he saw wasn't just bruised and beaten. His eyes were glowing faintly, amber like embers from a fire. His veins shimmered faintly under the skin. He looked human, but something inside was becoming more. He backed away, More guards would come soon. He had to leave, but suddenly, new sound echoed across the corridor. Screams, not his, not human. Alien screams. Of fear, the prophetess had done something else. He wasn't the only one rising. High above. In the palace tower, the alien warlord stood at the window, staring out across his territory. His generals argued behind him. Kill the prophetess. Kill the human before it spreads. The warlord snarled. It's too late. She has chosen. He crushed the wine glass in his hand, blood dripping from his palm. They will come for her now. They always do, back in the halls below. Jace gripped the stun blade tightly. A plan was forming. He didn't have time for questions. He needed answers. And only one being had them. The prophetess. He had to find her again. Not because she saved him, but because, somehow, she knew who he really was, and she had spoken just one word. Rise. The corridors were wider now, quieter. No guards, no footsteps, only shadows and silence. Jace moved quickly, his bare feet silent against the smooth floor. He still carried the stun blade he took from the guard. But his grip wasn't tight with fear anymore, it was steady. He had no map, no guide, but something inside him knew where to go. He should have felt afraid. The entire facility was on lockdown. If they caught him again, he knew they wouldn't ask questions. They'd end him. But fear didn't reach him now. Only the memory of her voice remained. Rise. It echoed again in his mind, just like it had in that cell. Soft, commanding. Alive, something in him had changed since she spoke. Not just his strength or the glow in his eyes. It was his instinct. He moved with purpose, almost like he had walked these halls before. He turned left at a broken pillar covered in roots. Then right, past an open archway that showed a glowing, blue sky beyond. He climbed stone stairs, vines creeping through the cracks, and stopped when he reached an ancient door. The metal was different here. Older, worn, carved symbols ran across it. Not military, not science. Spiritual J.A. didn't understand the symbols. But something told him to place his hand on the center. He did. The door groaned and opened. The light that poured through nearly blinded him. He stepped into a space that didn't belong in a prison. It was a garden. Moonlight bathed the stones, casting silver glows on strange alien plant stall with curling leaves, glowing flowers that opened like stars. Vines that pulsed gently, like they were breathing. The air was sweet, clean, calm. He stared in awe. How could this exist beneath a fortress built for war? He stepped onto the stone path, and there at the far end she stood. The prophetess. She was waiting. As if she had known he would come, her robe flowed around her like smoke, deep midnight blue, covered in shimmering symbols. Her hood was down, this time revealing her face. She was young, younger than he'd expected. Her skin shimmered like glass over silver light. Her hair floated slightly, even without wind, like it defied gravity. And her eyes. They held galaxies. When she saw him, she didn't move, didn't speak, but her lips curved in the slightest smile. You knew I'd come, Jace said, his voice hoarse but clearer than before. She nodded once. He stepped closer. I don't understand what's happening to me. She tilted her head. You will. Her voice soft again, like wind in trees, but it carried far. You spoke one word, he said, and now I feel like I'm becoming something else. She walked toward him slowly, hands folded. You were always something else. I only reminded your blood. What does that mean? He asked. She stopped a few feet away. There is a flame inside you. It sleeps inside many, but in you, it waits for a purpose. You were chosen, Jace Carter of Earth. He blinked. You know my name? See many futures. But in all of them, you are the same. She raised her hand, and they fear you. Jace felt it then, a warmth in his chest, not anger, not pride. Something older, like he was remembering something he never knew. I'm just a soldier. He whispered. No, she said gently. You are the spark before the fire. Suddenly, behind them, the air shifted. A loud chime rang in the sky above. Sirens. They know where I am, he said, turning around. She didn't seem afraid. They will send more. Stronger, he warned. The prophetess walked past him to the edge of the garden. They always do, she said. Jace turned to her. Why are you helping me? She looked up at the moon above. When I was a child, I saw a man in my vision, broken, chained, and rising. Her glowing eyes turned to him. That man is you. A rumble echoed through the stone under their feet. The warlord's troops were coming. Jace gripped the stun blade. Then we need to run. But she shook her head. You need to fight. I'm not ready, he said quickly. You are? She whispered. She stepped close to him, placing her hand on his chest. A bright pulse of light ran through his skin. Warming his core, his wounds vanished, his back straightened. The stun blade in his hand glowed brighter. Go now, she said. He hesitated. What about you? She smiled again, but there was sadness behind it. They feared me more than they fear you. Kaya, you are the one who will burn down their lies. And then she turned, walking toward a hidden door covered in vines. He stepped back toward the main hall. The rumble grew louder. JC took a deep breath. This time, he wasn't walking out as a prisoner. He was rising. Asterisk. The tower shook as the warlord slammed his fist against the glowing table. He was broken, dying. Now he walks free. He roared. No one dared speak. His generals lowered their heads. The warlord's eyes burned red. His long black armor shimmered in the low light, pulsing with ancient tech. Behind him, the room was lined with skulls, both human and alien, trophies. From battles long forgotten, a messenger stepped forward, trembling. The prophetess has touched him. He moves with power. He broke the gate of the inner sector, alone. The warlord's voice dropped to a cold growl. Then send the shadows. Silence fell across the room. The shadows were not soldiers. They were hunters, silent, fast, unseen. They didn't ask questions. They didn't take prisoners. And most importantly, they never failed. Down in the lower levels, Jace Carter moved like a storm. The stun blade in his hand was just for backup now. He hadn't needed it in the last fight. The two guards who ambushed him never had a chance. He had hurt them before they turned the corner. He had moved before they raised their weapons. Something inside him was growing stronger. His eyes flicked with faint golden light. His bones didn't ache anymore. His steps were smooth and sure. He moved like a man who had trained for this all his life, but he hadn't. The prophetess had said the fire inside him was ancient, and now was waking up fast. Still, Jace wasn't careless. He searched every hallway before entering. He mapped the turns in his mind. He was getting closer to the outer levels, closer to freedom. But deep inside, he knew. He wasn't just meant to escape. He was meant to do something, and he had a feeling that something was coming now. 3 figures dropped from the ceiling behind him, silent. Their armor shimmered like black smoke. No footsteps. No shadows. They were almost invisible. Even in the dim light, the shadows had arrived. They didn't speak. The first launched forward. Faster than anything Jace had seen. A blade shot from its wrist, aimed at his back. Jace turned just in time. Clang. Metal met metal. The force slammed him against the wall. He didn't fall. He roared. The second hunter was already midair, spinning with twin daggers. Jay gasped, grabbed a metal pipe from the floor, and swung upward. Crack. The shadow flew back, hitting a power box. Sparks exploded. The third came from the ceiling, no weapon. Just claws. Jace's instincts took over. He caught the hunter mid-pounce and slammed it into the floor with bone-shattering force. The first one was already recovering, but Jace turned. His eyes now glowing bright gold. He didn't use the blade. He didn't need it. With one punch, he shattered the front of the Shadow's armor. A second blow knocked it through the wall. Silence fell. All three lay motionless. Jace breathed hard, then steadied himself. This wasn't just strength. It was precision, timing, control. But it was more than that. He was becoming something else, far away. In the Warlord's tower, a red warning flashed across the screen. Shadow Team, status. Failed. The Warlord stared at it, silent. Send the voice to the Prophetess, he said finally. Let her hear it. The general nodded. JSC moved deeper into the fortress now. His goal was clear. Find her again. Find the Prophetess. She had started something inside him, awakened something, and he needed to know why. As he walked past, shattered glass walls and empty labs, he noticed the place was changing. The lights flickered more now. Doors stood open that were once locked tight, and on the walls, new symbols were burning into the steel. Glowing marks that hadn't been there before. He stopped at one, staring. It looked familiar. Not human, not alien, but something his mind recognized. A circle, a line through it. And three flames. Suddenly, a sound echoed from ahead. A voice, her voice. But this time, it wasn't soft. It was a scream. He ran past broken doors. Through crumbling halls, he followed the voice down into a chamber that repulsed with golden light. The Prophetess knelt in the center. She wasn't alone. A machine hovered over her, tall, cruel, with long steel arms ending in needles and blades. Her robe was torn, her hands chained. Jace didn't hesitate. He threw his blade. It struck the machine dead center. Sparks flew. It screeched and twisted toward him. Too late. He was already there. He leaped, grabbing the machine by the arm and tearing it away from her. The second arm stabbed toward his chest. He caught it and bent it backward. The machine sparked once more. Then it died. Silence again. He turned to her. Her eyes met his. You came, she whispered. You called, he answered. She smiled, and for the first time she reached up, not with power, but with trust, and took his hand. Jace didn't know what to expect when he touched her. But it wasn't this. The moment her fingers wrapped around his, the world changed. He was no longer standing in the broken chamber. He wasn't anywhere. Instead, he was floating in space, or something that looked like it. Endless stars, swirling lights, galaxies bending and twisting like rivers in the sky. But it wasn't peaceful. No, it was dying. Flames spread across worlds. Ships burned. Planets cracked in half. He saw entire civilizations falling, humans, aliens, beings he couldn't even name, all screaming. And in the middle of it all, he saw himself, standing tall, eyes glowing like suns, his body pulsing with light and rage. He was shouting, but no sound came out. His hands were covered in fire. His enemies were falling, his allies too. He was alone, a god of war, with nothing left. And then the Prophetess appeared beside him. She wasn't scared. She looked sad. You needed to see it, she whispered. The stars melted away, and Jace opened his eyes. They were back in the chamber. The machine was still broken beside them, but he could still feel the heat of those burning Stars. He looked at her. What? What was that? She let go of his hand gently. The future, she said. One of many. His head spun. I destroyed everything. She nodded. You could. He took a step back, shaking his head. No, I would never. You were not cruel, she said softly. You were desperate, alone, betrayed, and powerful. Jace clenched his jaw. Why show me this? Because you must choose, she said. She stood up fully, her eyes glowing again. The flame inside you is growing. If left uncontrolled, it will consume everything, even you. He backed away, breathing heavy. I didn't ask for this. No one ever does. She said. Silence hung in the air. Only the sound of broken wires crackling. Jace turned away, ran a hand through his sweat-soaked hair. So what? What now? You showed me this horrible vision. I just supposed to walk away? Hide. She walked over to a wall and waved her hand. A panel opened, revealing a small, glowing orb. She touched it. A new door opened. Light spilled. Out beyond it was a spiral staircase leading up. The high chamber, she said. It's where the warlord keeps his relics, and the answers you seek. Jace narrowed his eyes. You want me to fight him? She looked at him seriously. No, I want you to face him. He hesitated. There's a difference. Yes, she said. Killing him is easy. Controlling the fire afterward is not. He walked to the doorway, looked at the stairs. Every part of his body was telling him to climb, but another part deep down was afraid. What if I can't stop it? He whispered. What if I become the monster in that vision? She stepped up beside him, quiet for a moment. Then she said, Then I will be there to stop you. He turned to her. Her voice wasn't a threat, it was a promise. He nodded then. He started climbing. The spiral stairs twisted like a helix, each step glowing beneath his feet. Strange writings lit the wall symbols. That pulsed softly as he passed. He didn't know how much time passed. When he reached the top, a heavy stone door stood before him. No guards, no sounds, just silence. He pushed the door open. Inside was not a throne room. Not a war hall, it was a temple. Strange relics lined the walls, weapons, scrolls, glowing orbs floating in glass. And in the center stood a single pedestal. Upon it, a strange helmet, black, carved with 3 glowing lines, familiar, the same as the one he wore in the vision. He stepped toward it. Suddenly, the walls lit up. Welcome, Flameborn. A voice. Not the prophetess, not the warlord. Something ancient. Who are you? Jace asked, tensing. I am the archive, it said. I hold the memories of the first flame. Images appeared in the air, flashes of battles, heroes, ruins. Thousands of years ago, there were others like him, Flameborn, carriers of power, weapons, or saviors. All of them died, Jace whispered, or fell to madness. The archive answered. He stared at the helmet. It pulsed faintly with light. This is where it begins, the archive said. Take the crown and choose your path. He didn't move. His hands shook slightly. Behind him, the prophetess stepped into the room. She'd followed quietly. You don't have to wear it, she said. Jace looked at her. But someone will, he replied, and he picked it up. Asterisk. The helmet was heavier than it looked, not in weight but in memory. Jace Carter held it in both hands. Its smooth black surface hummed faintly with energy, the glowing lines across it pulsing like a heartbeat. Ancient tech, maybe even older than that. It was made for someone like him. No, it was made for him. The prophetess stood behind him, watching silently. He didn't put it on. Not yet. Instead, he turned to her. "You've known about this place?" "All along." She nodded. "Since I was taken by the warlord's priests, I saw it in my first vision." "How long ago?" She looked away. "Before I died." Jace blinked. "Wait, what?" She stepped forward slowly. Her hands folded in front of her, her robe brushing the floor with a soft sound. "I was born with the sight," she said. "The priests believed it was a gift. Others thought it was a curse. They tried to use me to see the future of their empire, but I saw fire. I spoke the truth." "And they killed you?" She nodded. "They burned my body, but the fire did not consume me. It awakened something instead. I woke days later, untouched, surrounded by ash." Jace stared at her. "That's not possible." "It wasn't, until it was." He looked down at the helmet again. "And now you think that'll happen to me?" "No," she said softly. "You won't burn." "Why not?" "Because I'm still here to stop you." He smiled, only for a moment. "That's supposed to make me feel better." But her face turned serious. "No, it's meant to make you careful." Jace turned and placed the helmet gently back on the pedestal. "I'm not ready." She didn't argue. He walked past her toward the balcony. A wide glass arch overlooked the alien city. From here, he could see the stars again. They were bright. Calm. The chaos of battle felt far away. "I've done nothing to deserve this power," he said. "I was just a soldier. Nothing special." The prophetess stepped beside him. "You survived things most would not." He looked at her. "So what now?" "I walked down into the city with glowing eyes and set things on fire." "No," she said. "We leave tonight." "Leave?" he asked. She nodded. "There is a ship hidden beneath the fortress, a relic transport vessel. It can take us off-world." He shook his head. "You're just going to walk away from all this?" She turned to him. "No, I'm saving the flame." They left the temple under cover of shadows. The lower halls were mostly empty now. After the prophetess's escape, the warlord had moved his guards to the towers above. He was preparing for battle. But the battle had already begun. He just didn't know it yet. They moved through a narrow tunnel lined with ancient pipes and moss-covered bricks. At the far end, they reached an old docking bay. A single ship sat in the middle, sleek, black, silent. The prophetess moved to the control panel, her fingers dancing across the symbols. Jace walked slowly to the edge of the ramp. Then he stopped. Something felt wrong, too quiet. Then he heard it, a faint hum behind them. He turned, a blast hit him in the chest and sent him flying. He rolled across the floor, coughing. Stunned guards stepped out of the shadows, 6 of them, heavily armored, weapons raised. The warlord wasn't taking chances this time. The prophetess raised her hand to shield herself, but one of the guards fired first. A blue bolt struck her in the side. She gasped, fell to her knees. "No!" Jace shouted. He tried to rise, but another guard kicked him down. 2 more grabbed his arms and pinned him. One of the guards knelt next to the prophetess, pulled back her hood. His voice was cold. "Pretty little witch. The warlord wants you, alive but not whole." She groaned, blood running down her side. Jace felt something inside him. Snap, not a bone, not a thought. Something deeper. The guards laughed. "You should have stayed in your cage, human. We'll burn the sight out of her again," but they didn't finish. Because Jace moved faster than thought. Boom! The first guard flew across the bay, slamming into a wall. The second crumpled as Jace ripped free of their grip and drove a fist into his chest. He was glowing now bright gold. Fire crackled across his arms. His eyes blazed. The last 3 guards fired. The blasts never touched him. They bent, turned, curved away. Jace moved like a storm, like the vision. But this time, he had purpose. Within seconds, the guards were down. Smoke filled the bay. He dropped to his knees beside her. "Stay with me," he said. "Please." She smiled weakly. You... ... You didn't burn everything this time. I'm not going to lose you." He lifted her gently and carried her up the ramp. The ship hummed to life as they rose into the stars. Jace looked back down at the fortress, and his fire burned silently inside him. Stars stretched like white scars across the darkness as the ship soared into orbit. Jace Carter sat beside the prophetess in the quiet medbay. Her breathing was slow but steady now. He'd done what he could, sealed the wound, stopped the bleeding. But her skin had grown pale, and her glow dimmer. She had risked everything for him. Now it was his turn. The ship's console beeped. A message from the warlord's fleet. It blinked and read, "Surrender the prophetess, or burn." Jace stared at the message without blinking. Then, slowly, he stood and walked to the helm. The warlord had launched a blockade, 10 ships circling like wolves. Each one bristled with weapons. They thought he'd run, that he'd be afraid. They still didn't understand. He wasn't the same man they had chained and broken. The fire was awake now, and it would not be tamed below. In the fortress tower, the warlord paced before a massive screen. The prophetess's escape had shaken him, but he wasn't afraid. He had armies, cannons, fleets, and he had a secret weapon. He turned to his generals. "Activate the mirror engine, track the flame signature." "Yes, warlord." A radar bloomed open on the screen. A single golden dot moved through space. Then it paused and began to turn around. "What is he doing?" a general muttered. The warlord leaned forward, eyes narrowing. In the ship, Jace stood before the console. The prophetess opened her eyes. "You're going back?" she whispered. "I'm finishing it," he said. She reached weakly for his hand. "You could run, live in peace." "They'll keep hunting us," he said, "and others like me." "You said there were more." She nodded. "Then I won't hide," he said. "I'll show them why they should stop looking." He looked to her, voice steady. "Tell me what to do." Her lips parted. A whisper only he could hear, and then she smiled. "I knew you'd become the fire." The ship turned full speed, straight toward the blockade. The warlord's eyes widened. "He's attacking us, alone." "Insane," a general muttered. "Fire everything." The warlord roared. "Wipe him from the stars." Missiles launched, beams fired. The space between them lit up like a second sun. But the ship didn't stop. It moved through. Jay stood in the command core, fire glowing from his skin. His body was not just human now, was energy, rage, balance. The prophetess sat behind him, watching, proud. He raised his hand, and the missiles stopped. Frozen, mid-space. He turned his palm. They twisted and flew back. Boom, boom, boom. 3 warships exploded in seconds. The others began to scatter. "Shields. Get the shields up." The generals screamed. Jace pressed forward, floating now. The ship bent to his will. He wasn't just flying it, he was it. Every weapon became an extension of his hands. He tore through the blockade like fire through dry leaves. They never stood a chance. Then, silence. Only one ship remained. The warlords. It hovered above the dark side of the planet. Jace opened a channel. The warlord's face appeared cracked with fury. "You think this makes you a god?" He spat. "You're just a weapon. A trick." Of prophecy, Jace's eyes burned like suns. "No, I'm the end of your war. You'll burn just like the others." The warlord growled, slamming his fist. "I've seen the flames," Jace replied. but I chose a different fire. And, with a thought, he vanished from the ship and appeared on the bridge of the warlord's cruiser. The guards froze. Alarms screamed. Jace walked straight toward the throne. The warlord rose, drawing a massive plasma blade. Come then, Flameborn. They clashed, sparks, fire, metal on light. The warlord was strong, centuries old, scarred by war. But Jace was more. He didn't move with anger. He moved with clarity. He was the word, the blade, the fire. And after a final strike, the warlord fell to his knees. Defeated, Jace stood over him, breathing slow. He could end it. Right now, one word. But instead, he lowered his hand. You're not worth the fire, Jace said. He turned away. The warlord screamed and lunged, but a golden shield burst around Jace, blasting him back. It wasn't Jace who cast it. It was her. The prophetess stood at the doorway, supported by the light. Enough, she said. Later, the warlord's ship descended under Jace's control. He sent a message to the galaxy. Your fear gave them power. Your silence let them rule. But the fire is awake now, and we are not afraid anymore. Planets once enslaved began to rise. Old rebellions lit again. The prophetess stood beside him on the bridge of the old temple ship, her hand in his. You did it, she said. No, he replied. We did. And far, far away in the darkness of space, others began to stir. Other Flameborn, other voices, other words, and a new legend began, not of gods, but of one broken, bound man, who rose.